Oh, good morning. Look at this. Woo. That's not a bad sanctuary to be in, right? Anyway, so I just thought I'd touch base. I haven't been live for very often in the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty hectic for me, actually, to tell you the truth. We've got all sorts of back to work issues. So we've got 15 out of 30 people, let's say, back at work now, and then we're bringing the rest of them back. G'day, Martin Byrne, Scott Davis, Casey Joe, Garen from Canada. Whew, Jacob Dells here from Iowa. Good to see you. So just a quick update for us. We're back in production. We're going to run a quick clearance. I'll just come off the phone from Jason Hatch. We're going to see if we can offload a little bit more of our stock that's in Iowa, and then we're going into full production this week already. We've got all the production workers back, and then we're going to load everything back up into. We've been sending tons of stock to Jason, but we're going to send tons more. So we just need the extra shelving space. So you'll be able to look out for some older Reacher products just being cut price, and maybe we'll run an auction on some of them. Make it exciting. How are you, Tony? Good to see you from down under. Good, mate. And but I'll just give you a quick. I basically pulled out of the coronavirus story once it got to a certain point, because I just felt I don't want to be associated when people started calling it hysteria. There was a percentage of the population who was looking at it seriously, and another percentage just said it's also hysteria. And I don't want to be tagged with the hysteria guy, even if it were to sort of pan out to become pretty active in a predictive sense. So I just want to, obviously the Dow fell 10%, the All Ords fell 11% yesterday. So, there's definitely a troubled time ahead. I think everybody can see that clearly. If you go to my wall, there's a link to it's got a little graph on it. There's a link to a very, very long and informative article, which is, I don't know if it's right or wrong. Hey, Ron Musgroves, good to see you, bud. But let me just explain to you what the challenge is, and it boils down to this. Let's say that 100 people get coronavirus, 80 people get mild symptoms, 15 people get serious symptoms, and 5 people get life-threatening symptoms. And of the 5 people, somewhere between 1 and 3 pass away as a result of the hospital system not being able to sustain their life. So this particular coronavirus, I'll give you some statistics. When Wuhan went into damage, China sent 42,000 medical people from all over the country. They got a 1.4 billion population. Not just the medical people, they sent all their medical equipment. Because my wife is from Shanghai, and the mayor of Shanghai was sent to run Wuhan, right? Because there was a little bit of suppression at the beginning. The first doctor that declared coronavirus got admonished for spreading a rumor. And when the central government, the CCP, whatever they're called, when they found out about it, they replaced the entire leadership and said that you did the wrong thing there, buddy, right, by everybody. So they replaced the entire leadership of Wuhan, Hubei, and put in, anyway, so they sent the guy from Shanghai. But along with the guy from Shanghai, who was like the mayor of 25 million people, like the mayor of 4 European countries kind of thing, so they sent him, but they also sent 2,800 medical people with all of their ventilators, with all of their life support systems. So Phoebe was going, the people of Shanghai, the natives of Shanghai, are saying, this is bullshit, right? Because what happens if the virus gets here? All of our equipment and all of our experts and doctors and everybody is over in Wuhan, right? And then when they come back, how do we know they don't come back infected? And so China had a little bit of that going on, which you can probably get a feeling for right now, is, the not knowingness, can create all sorts of problems. But here's the thing, that this particular virus, it's got 2 strains, and at least one of those strains is called biphasic. It has a second phase. The person gets sick, then they get well, and it looks like they're going to recover, and then they're dead 48 hours later. They have a massive lung and organ problem which they can't follow, can't save the person. So, and the head neurosurgeon who was in charge of Wuhan's coronavirus attack succumbed to the disease. So that's the guy who, if they can do anything to save a human being, they would do it to save their their leader, you know what I mean? That he'd passed away. So you know if it gets to that stage. So what is that stage that saves people in that third and fourth stage are called ventilators, right? So the person needs to go onto basically life support. And so you've got loads and loads of people going, I'm sick, I need a hospital bed. You've got hospital systems that are already running to capacity, perfect just-in-time business machines, right? Person in, person out, change the sheets, next person in. So the question is how many extra hospital beds, and you saw that China put a whole hospital up in 11 days. They did 2 of those, and they converted a sports stadium into a hospital in 4 or 5 days. So they had all these extra hospital beds. All of those temporary hospitals are now closed because they've got it under control or whatever. But what happens is that if you don't have enough hospital beds, the people who are normally going into that hospital, who goes first? The coronavirus person, or the person who's having an operation, or the person who's having chemotherapy, or the person who's having this or that? And then how do you separate it? This is the logistics. It's a disaster. I was going to put a cuss word in there, but I think it's probably inappropriate. So then it's how many ventilators have you got in your country, and how old are they? Because I've listened to Fox News and a lot of the things, and a lot of the ventilators in the States, they said are already 10 years old. They're not the latest ones. We want to get some more, but how do you go and say, oh, I want another ventilator, please? Actually, I want another 500 ventilators. And that's what, if you look at it, that's what China had. To get the death rate down, they were able to ship all of their emergency equipment into one city and reduce the death rate, right? They have ventilators to service 1.4 billion people. They could put them into a population of 11 million and say, okay, we've got beds, we've got ventilators, we've got all the gear, get it all in there, save the people's lives. Amazing, right? Amazing, amazing, amazing. So that's the challenge. The challenge is that if the virus gets out of control, and then you end up with more sick than you've got hospital beds, and then you end up with more chronic, potentially terminal sick than you've got ventilators, then you can't, even you have the ability, you haven't got the machinery, you know what I mean? So that's why, if you wonder why some people think it's worth having a little bit of a panic about, it's probably at least worth thinking seriously about and saying, okay, well, how do we help? How do we as a community help? I mean, that's all I'm going to encourage is, you live in a community, talk to your leaders, you're a leader, talk to your leaders and say, what can I do to help? And I think that's all any of us can do, because it's not in our control. I read a judge's opinion that it's going to be unconstitutional to compel somebody to stay in their home if there's no evidence of a threat. In other words, if there's no infection in the home. So what China did is put everybody into house arrest, and put 1.4 billion people not allowed out of their house. And one judge has said, under the Fifth Amendment, I think that's unconstitutional. So there's a whole new, there's just a whole different experience that America's going to have than what China's had. But you can see everybody taking it extremely seriously now. And the other thing, which I think just personally, as a personal point of view, right? I'll show you this view again. Actually, the view, I probably have missed showing you the view. I have. It's amazing anyway. It's a great little place to wake up and go for a walk in the morning. See, I got distracted. Squirrel! So that's what I should do, is just walk along the beach and talk. Yeah, so everybody's going to do their best, right? And we should just, keep positively, it doesn't matter what we think, it matters what we do. And the other one is, if you want to try and understand what's going on, at least run this formula, that if the reaction is greater than the declared cause, then the declared cause is probably not the real cause. So if you see somebody saying, don't worry about it, and then declaring a state of emergency, well, if you declare it a state of emergency for something you don't have to worry about, then you've probably got something to worry about that you don't know. That means that a state of emergency should exist. Okay, so that's basically what I do. I try and look, and I read all the newspapers from all over the world, try and get, the Al Jazeera's view for the Middle East. I get the BBC for the British view and the European view, and I read Fox. Occasionally I'll go to CNN if I think that Fox is spinning it too much to the right. And then I read China Daily, which is very informative from a Chinese point of view. Obviously everybody's in propaganda. Don't think, I won't read that because it'll be propaganda. Dude, what you're reading is propaganda. right. So you just got to read all of them and try and go, okay, what's the reaction? What's the action? Yeah, if you could, better to read the action than it is to read the story sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my little hoedown, to give you a little bit of a summary of what you're looking out for and why. Really, the other thing you can do as a leader in your community is really encourage people to follow the guidelines. Just keep reminding people. If you're still skeptical, at least if you follow the guidelines, nothing could go wrong. If you don't follow the guidelines, maybe other things can go wrong. And then what we hope is that all the skeptics who think it's all hysteria and it's never going to happen are going to be right. Now, they're not going to be right because they were right. We already know that. They're going to be right because the people who weren't skeptics, who are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to prevent this virus from spreading throughout communities, that they're actually successful and they're able to contain it, they're able to mitigate it, right? And then there's no pandemic throughout America, And then the other guys go, see, I told you so. Death rate wasn't so high, the infection rate wasn't as much as the flu, all of that. The only reason that the infection rate is less than the flu is because everybody, 1.4 billion people, got put in their homes for the last 6 weeks, and still 40 or 50% of them are still in their homes. Because I know in most of my friends in China who've got factories in China have got 40% of the workforce back. So 60% is still in their homes right now. And schools, Phoebe got the notice for Ollie to start school April 20th. Well, that's another, 5 or 6 weeks away. So even there's been no infections in Shanghai for 3 weeks, no new infections, still another 6 weeks. They're just not going to. And if I'm a foreigner, like I'm in Thailand now, right? If I go back to China, I get quarantined for 2 weeks, 14 days, and my buddy has just finished 13 days, and they've just come to him in his hotel room and said another 14 days. Like, they're just not taking any risk of the virus coming back, whatever. So that's information. I hope it helps. It's just, I don't want to be the prophet of doom. I really want to be like an encouraging person to give you enough information for you to see, okay, this is why we need to take it seriously. This is why we need to support our government. This is why we need to support our local councils or whatever. And this is what we need to do as a leader on Facebook and, all the other social medias. Like, be a leader and just say, look, you don't have to believe it for it to be true, and you don't have to believe it for it to be beneficial, so you just, if we all follow it, like, then if we're right, we're right, and we're wrong, we're right. That's all you want to get to, is that point there. Okay, let me just see what you guys wrote, because I'm sitting in the sun. Let me get my shade. Well, let me just give this on Trump. Trump was spot on. He saw the threat. He got the inside. I know I listen to Fox and Tucker goes on, China didn't get us any information. Trump had enough information. This disease was first declared December the 8th. Wuhan was locked down January the 24th. 11 days after I left on January the 27th. 7 days after I left, Trump had enough information to say shut, cut, ban, right? So he had the information he needed to be able to do that. His problem, and he must be so pissed right now, because he did the right thing and he was right. If he had done that, and if Europe, now we can say in hindsight, if Europe had done that same thing, then Europe would have held it in China, America held it in China, China would have dealt with it and it would have been controlled, but nobody else put flight bans on, right, at that point, or not many. Maybe British Airways did. Oh, that's the point. British Airways did. There you are. So then people say, why isn't the UK included? Well, British Airways did put some travel bans on. So maybe he's got some thoughts around, how Britain's working on controlling it. But Europe didn't. And now, what they've done is be able to go back and say the source of the infections in the United States of America, especially at the high level. Imagine it's getting all the way to the Senate. President Trump has shaken hands with a man who's shaken hands with a man who has tested positive for coronavirus. Can you imagine how pissed off he must be? I'd be pissed off, because he would have said, I did everything right. Why is this happening? How does this guy get so close to all of our senators? And, all the senators are mature age people, all of them almost over 60, you'd think, except for, Ted Cruz and Rubio and people like that, next generation, but you know what I mean. So that's why he has to shut down Europe, because he has to say, well, if you can't control the virus in Europe, everybody who comes in and out is going to come in and reload us with more virus. And if he'd have known what he knows now, he would have shut global travel down when he shut down China. If he knew then what he knew now, I'm sure of it. Yeah, it's really, really sad, because he did a great move and then ended up being, just delayed rather than fixed. Hey, Jeff Addis, haven't seen you for a long time. Hugs and thanks. Thanks, Tanya. I love you. You're so sweet. Be safe. Yeah, I'm about as safe as I can be. I live in the open air. That's what my game plan is. Live in the open air. Anyway, so there you go. Any questions? All travel in and out of US. Yeah, should have been banned. You got it. Trump's the man. He's really, really decisive. You can't imagine how difficult it must be as a leader to be decisive. Even just tell people to shut their schools. Even, to declare a state of emergency. I mean, there's such big decisions. You really got to have chutzpah, man. Chutzpah. The warrior is money. Yeah, we're doing a bit of a warrior push right now. Yeah, keep it all in mind. Just so you guys know that what we're spraying in China, still to this day, I checked with my staff, and we've got 0 infections in Ningbo for more than 2 weeks. But every day, everybody's still in the factory. Everybody is temperature checked twice a day. Everybody has to wear a mask. Everybody has to bring their own food. There's no Uber Eats to the factory, so no strange people in and out. We take our dispatches and we put them downstairs, and the DHL comes and picks them up from downstairs, so we have no interaction with the DHL guy. And we spray sodium hypochlorite, chlorine, right, twice a day, every morning, every night. We have a guy in a PPE coverall suit with a mask and everything, and here it's with staff member, because in China you can do that. And basically we buy a gallon bucket of chlorine powder, and we mix it, and we make 250 gallons of spray, so that's the dilution. You guys can work that out, because you're better at that than me. I'm not a chemical guy at all. But in metric, that's a 25 litre bucket making 1,000 litres of spray. So that's where the opportunity is, I think, not as an opportunity to gouge or to price do or anything like that, but a specific opportunity to provide a service to the community. Is this virus, the World Health Organization says it'll stay on a surface that's got organics and warm, like a banknote, for up to 9 days. It won't stay on packages because there's no organics and it's not warm, and it gets handled and the temperatures change and blah, 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 and all of that. So they said there's no concern about cargo, but banknotes and things like that. And so basically, China went digital in its money system a long time ago. So nobody has cash, nobody has credit cards, so nobody touches anything. So they just beep with their phone. But that gives you an idea as to what you can do for your community. Is the people who get work from home status, they're going to be okay, look after themselves. But the people who work for a company that must go to work, right, in order for the company to service the population, then those people overnight you could be spraying a sanitizer and making sure that everybody stays safe and that nothing's left over. If there was somebody infected overnight, then the next day that's not on the surfaces or anything like that. Okay, how's that? That's what I do, is summarize it like that. Yeah, well, I just said to my guys, I've still got guys at home and I had one guy, I'll tell you a story if you've got time for it. Sometimes people say I talk too long. I've got one guy who's the leader who came back from Hubei when Hubei was in lockdown, got himself a green code, which we don't know, we can't prove it's fraudulent or not. So I've still got him at home. He's been at home for 21 days. I'm going to probably push him to 28 days because I don't know if he's a latent virus carrier. And he basically, thwarted the system. I don't know how he did it, but he got through the barrier. And Hubei is still in lockdown. You're still not allowed out of Hubei, but he got out. Maybe he was out already or something like that. That's what one of my staff thinks. So I've had to deal with that. He's the leader of the business. So I'm debating, how to transition him, because I don't want to go back and try and take his job because I can't do his job. So anyway, I got a whole lot of drama around that. And then the other thing which China government has made us do is, so Chinese New Year started, I think we let everybody go about January 20, January 23rd, maybe, for Chinese New Year, I think. And then, then February 10th was officially the end of the Chinese New Year. They extended it, gave everybody holiday pay at our expense. And now, whether somebody worked or not, the entire staff get paid for February in full, whether they're available for work, whether they worked. We have some people who worked, but they go, well, what's our advantage? We should have stayed home. We took the risk coming to work. We really saved the company, and then everybody else gets the same as us, but that's it. And then in March, we still have to pay everybody in full unless we can negotiate with everybody. And if we terminate anybody, we have to pay them if a guy's been with me for 3 years, 6 times his monthly salary, so half a year's pay to terminate him. So you can't downsize the company. So that's what I'm going through at the moment, like bloody letters to lawyers and shit like that, trying to work out how to take my 35-person overhead down in the event of not needing them all. But right now, for the next 6 weeks, we're in full production because we're going to clear out Iowa and fill it all up with brand new 2020 products, and then hopefully sales will be moderate, and we'll take a bit of a dip, and then we'll pop out the other side, and we'll be well stocked with all the radial range and good stuff. And it gives us a chance to send it by sea as well, which saves us. Like a Flow Blue by air is about $550 US, but a Flow Blue by sea is maybe $150, and we priced it based on it going by sea. So we kind of drop. But you guys put $200 towards it, so we kind of dropped $350 now, and we only want to drop. By the time it gets $150 to Jason, and then another $80 to deliver to your house, it costs us $230 delivered. So anyway, blah blah blah. This just shows you what's going on in the background. Okay, so that's all. I'm going to sign out, and from sunny Thailand. Look at this. I've only been for a swim like 3 times in a month. I work from the moment I wake up to the moment I can't work anymore. It's insane. But we do have the Window Cleaner Industry app is going live in the next. It's in soft launch now. Like, it's going really, really, really well. It's a beautiful, beautiful app. You can go to windowcleanerindustry.com and download it from there, and then fill in some of the profile, and then make a post somewhere, probably, and ask a question, and then we'll add 30 days free membership for you. Right? But we really just want proactive people, no trolls, no BS people. It's going to be a nice clean zone, and then we'll build it out. And if you want to be a mentor, you can be a mentor. And if you want a company folder, so we can build company folders in there for you. If you've got 5 or more members of your team, we can customize it for your company. We're pretty excited about what we can do for you. And then just a nice little call out to Sean from RHG for copying our marketing campaign as best as he could. And we'll just have to have a little bit of a chuckle, right? when your competitors tell everybody how shit you are and then copy you on everything you do. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so I feel flattered. All right, let's go. See you guys. Good to see you, Dale and Chris. You guys are all good. Winston's here. You're awesome. Yeah. Like, we've got the best gear. Like, you got that radial brush, and then there's nothing compared to it. I'm the only guy who seriously wants to help you clean windows faster. Everybody else wants to try and keep up with Reach It, but they're not doing things to help you clean windows faster, right? I'm thinking, top edge, corners, side edges, middle, top edge, corners, side edges, middle. What do we do well? What do we not do well? What do we do well? What could we do better? That's where radial came from. The whole focus of radial is all about the corners. We can get the water. We're bending the water back into the corner, and we're radializing those bristles so that you basically put them through the corner like that, right? You roll. We call it jiggy, right? You jiggy, and these bristles, I don't know, hundreds of bristles scroll through the corner, like that. And just take anything out. Nobody's been able to do that before. We've always known it's the weakness of waterfed is the corners. Radial solves that. And then you've got to flush it, right? So you've got to flush it. So we've got to bend that water back at 60 degrees, right? So that as you come through that radial arc of taking the bristles through, the water's got to turn up, right? But the problem is to get the water to turn up in the corner, if you have it when you're coming across the top edge, if you have it, the water's going to squirt across up into the top edge if you're going to try and do that. So then you see, we you know, the Reach It technique, we bring the brush across like a squeegee at about 30 degrees across the top edge, right? We rely on gravity to pull more water out of the bottom of the brush than the top of the brush. The top jets are pointing vertically as you're going across at 30 degrees, right? And so the gravity is making them come out the bottom of the brush, the water, so you don't get the water squirting onto the frame. If you've got more than 3/4 of a gallon per minute, it'll squirt on a frame, which if it's millions, it's fine, but if it's low profile frame, it's a problem. Now I'm all fired up, right? So you come across the top and then the water's not squirting, and as you straighten the brush, the water squirts and it comes across and it comes into that corner and it comes down the frame, and then you bring the brush at 10 degrees down the frame, and all this water flushes the side edge. You can't do that with a brush with a bolt-on bloody whatever it is rinse bar. Like when a brush is on the glass, it splays. When a rinse bar is fitted to a broom style brush, you've got to leave half an inch on the outside for the first jet, because otherwise you're going to scratch the frames, which they found out about with their first copy, right, or attempted copy, right? So they're scratching up frames and glass and everything all over the place. And then, so now the first jet is like half an inch in from the outside of the block, but when you compress the brush against the glass, the brush compresses and you get another inch of compression, right? So now the first jet is 1.5 inches away from the frame. So you can't rinse the frames with a block brush with jets like that. You just can't do it. So that's why I'm passionate about, you know, Radial, and I'm passionate about what we do, because we're the ones thinking, you know. And the sad thing is, you know, we've got Constructor Brush. I think we'll get, maybe we're almost 5 years into our patent application, and we'll get final judgment, final. That's a whole game that gets played on that. That's another story, right? But sometime this month, I hope. And but you know, the industry's not big enough to patent every idea. It's just not, because I think I'm already $45,000 into patenting, you know, Constructor Brush in 5 years. So if you have every great idea you have, you know, you try and protect it. But our industry is so small, you know, like how many brushes do we really sell, you know, compared to the rest of the number of brushes in the world? Like beep, you know, nothing. So so there you go. So like, I'm passionate, that Radial brush and the pivot will never wear out. It'll never have slop. It's got brass and stainless steel mechanisms for its spinning, and you can still tighten it up and make it stiffer or looser as you choose. And we give you the tool to do it. You know, it's a hex tool, like a, I don't know, 8mm hex tool. Do you know what I mean? Like you know, every idea anybody has ever given me that is able to be converted to more efficiency, I picked it up and tried to run with it. And the Radial brush guys like Larry Crook at the beginning, with Eric Gillian, Peter Thomas, Craig Hardman, Todd Thurman, Remy Bellinger, these guys have been like incredibly instrumental making their own Radial brushes. They've been in the field for over a year. Larry's first one was 18 months ago, and we just could not get it to mass produce in a consistent way. With what I wanted to be able to do is make a brush that couldn't be taken apart, right? Carried Reach It care, so nobody had to worry about anything. If you have a functional problem with the brush, you send it back to us. We'll send you another one anytime in the next 2 years, just like Apple does with your iPhone. I love that service because I do drop my iPhones, you know. So that was the standard that I wanted to go to. I wanted to bring Reach It to its maturity, you know. So and we've done that with Radial. You can get $29.90. You can buy Reach It care, and then at any point in the next 2 years, if it loses its functional thing, like if it's got scratches or blocked jets, we put little filters in to stop your jets from getting blocked. Like, we were doing everything to make sure that we're not building in any problem for you. And then, but if it fails to function properly, then we'll replace it for free. And everyone's got a serial number, so you actually know which one you bought and which one you're sending back. So it's all been laser engraved. Like, I've gone the whole hog on this because I love it, right? And then we've got a whole range of Radial brushes will come out through 2020. So that's where I'm putting my money right now. I've said to my guys, like, we're going to reduce our product range through the crisis and put all the money at the new products, which are amazing. Yeah, how's that? All right, I'm going. Whew, I really got lost there for a second. Rance Tilly is here. Good to see you, bud. Woo-wee. Okay, I'm out. See ya.